You know that feeling, right? You're driving along and your car just feels off. Kind of sluggish. It hesitates when you hit the gas, or it just doesn't have that punch it used to. It's super frustrating, and it usually points to some hidden problem. But a lot of the time, it's not some huge mechanical failure. Nope. It's often just a small, faulty sensor.
And the crazy part is, most of us have no idea these little things even exist until something goes wrong. So today, we're going to break down exactly what these 6 sensors do, what happens when they fail, and most importantly, how you can actually start to figure out the problem all by yourself.
Okay, so before we dive into the sensors themselves, we've got to talk about the boss they all report to. See, modern engines aren't just a bunch of gears and pistons anymore. They're run by a seriously powerful computer. And that computer is called the Engine Control Unit, or ECU for short. Just think of it as the brain of your engine. I mean, it is making thousands of calculations every single second to keep your engine running just right. But even the smartest brain is totally useless if it doesn't have any information coming in.
It's really the perfect way to think about it. Our brain relies on our senses, sight, sound, touch, to figure out what's going on so we can make decisions. Well, your car's ECU does the exact same thing, but it relies on its engine sensors to understand what the engine needs from one moment to the next.
And right here, this is the whole ball game. If just one of those sensors starts sending bad info, or no info at all, the ECU starts making the wrong calls. It might dump in too much fuel or not enough. It might fire a spark plug at the wrong time. And what you feel behind the wheel is the result: a loss of power, terrible gas mileage, and an engine that just runs rough.
All right, so now that we get why these sensors are so critical, let's meet the 6 usual suspects behind that annoying loss of engine power. We're going to go through them one by one.
First up on our list is the oxygen sensor, or as you'll usually hear it called, the O2 sensor. This little guy is located in your exhaust system, and its entire job, all day long, is to measure how much unburned oxygen is left over in the exhaust after the boom-boom part happens in the engine. So why does that even matter? Well, the O2 sensor is how the ECU knows if the air-to-fuel mix is right. If the sensor goes bad, the ECU is basically flying blind. It doesn't know if the engine is running rich, meaning too much fuel, or lean, not enough fuel. Either way, your power and your fuel efficiency just tank, which leads to, you guessed it, all these symptoms.
And here's where you can start to fight back. If you think the O2 sensor is the problem, a cheap little OBD2 scanner becomes your best friend. You plug it in, and if you see one of these codes pop up, that's a huge clue pointing you right at the problem.
Okay, on to culprit number 2, the mass airflow sensor, or MAF sensor. This one is found in your air intake, right after the air filter, and it has an incredibly precise job. It measures the exact amount and even the density of the air that's getting sucked into the engine.
The ECU takes that data from the MAF sensor to figure out exactly how much fuel to spray in. But the problem is, these sensors get dirty over time with gunk and oil. When that happens, it starts to send a false low reading. It tricks the ECU into thinking there's less air coming in than there really is, and the engine gets starved for fuel. That's what causes that awful hesitation and weak acceleration.
Now here's a fantastic tip that could save you some real money. Before you rush out to buy a new MAF sensor, just try cleaning it. Now you have to use a special MAF sensor cleaner spray, but a lot of the time, that's all it takes to fix it. And if you're using that scanner, you'll be looking for codes from P0100 to P0103.
Sensor number 3 is the throttle position sensor, or TPS. This one is attached right to your throttle body, and its job is beautiful in its simplicity. It just tells the ECU how hard your foot is pressing down on the gas pedal.
So when the TPS starts to go bad, the ECU has no idea what you're asking the car to do. You might push the gas and get nothing, and then a sudden jerky surge of power. Some cars, when the TPS fails badly enough, will even go into what's called limp mode. It's a safety feature where the car intentionally cuts its own power to prevent more damage.
So if your car is acting all herky-jerky and unpredictable, yeah, you know the drill. Grab that scanner and look for codes in the P0120 to P0124 range. It's a dead giveaway that the TPS is your problem.
All right, number 4, the fuel rail pressure sensor, or FRPS. You could think of this one as the bouncer at the nightclub door for your fuel injectors. It's constantly checking the fuel pressure to make sure the injectors have enough juice to deliver that perfect high-pressure spray of fuel. If this sensor gives a bad reading, the ECU can't get the pressure right, and the engine basically starts to starve. That leads directly to things like the engine being hard to start, misfires, and just a major lack of power when you need it.
Next up is a sensor that is all about timing, and I mean perfect timing, the camshaft position sensor.
So your camshaft controls the opening and closing of your engine's valves. This sensor tells the ECU the exact position of that camshaft as it spins around. This information is absolutely non-negotiable for the computer. It uses it to time both the fuel injection and the spark perfectly. When it fails, that precision timing goes right out the window and your engine's power just...
And finally, we have number 6, the crankshaft position sensor. You could argue that this is one of the most important sensors in the entire car. It tracks the rotational speed and the exact position of the crankshaft, which is like the master clock for the whole engine operation. Without good data from this sensor, the ECU is completely lost. It loses all control over ignition timing. A bad CKP sensor can cause anything from your car randomly stalling on the highway to it just plain refusing to start at all.
So there you have it. 6 small, easy-to-forget sensors that have a gigantic impact on how your car runs. The biggest takeaway here should be this. Don't just guess what the problem might be. There's a simple, powerful first step you can always take.
And as this slide shows, getting started is way easier than you probably think. Pretty much every car made since 1996 has this little port, the OBD2 port, right under the dashboard. You can get a scanner for cheap online, plug it in, and literally let the car tell you what's wrong with it. That code will often point you directly to the bad sensor, saving you a ton of time, money, and headaches.
It's really all about arming yourself with knowledge before you even think about heading to a mechanic. So, the big question to leave you with is, based on everything we've talked about, which one of these sensors do you think might be the secret culprit behind your car's problems?